my bow setup, heading out now into the USA on the 3rd of October for a Saka deer hunt. I'm pretty pumped up about this one, and I just want to start off by giving a big shout out to a good friend of mine, Pat Dugan, who has set this whole thing up. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I know it's a little bit cliche when we say that. However, this is truly a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to head abroad and go and hunt the elusive Saka deer. Now, Saka deer are normally known as a more Eastern Asian animal, which is pretty cool that it's found home in places like Maryland in Cambridge. Cambridge in Maryland. Excuse me, my geography. I've been doing a lot of research, and I found that my geography when it came to the US wasn't as great as what I thought it would be. But however, we're heading across to Maryland. We land in Washington on the 4th of October, and then we head out into the swampy areas of Cambridge, which I'm pretty pumped up about this one. So a lot of people have been touching base with me, sending me DMs about my bow setup, going over and what it's going to be like. So yeah, the tag is for a Saka deer. It's for a stag, regardless of size. It doesn't matter about size. And like mentioned before, Clement Henry, I hope I said his name right, he brought the Saka deer over to the US in the 1900s and purposely just released them out into the wild. And they've made places like Maryland, Texas, and those places home, which has been really unique and pretty cool because, I mean, a deer I found on a lot of my experiences, especially here in South Africa, with the things like the fallow deer, axis deer, who have slowly but surely incorporated into the South African wilderness and made it home. They're very adaptable species across the board, and Saka deer, of course, made Maryland their home of choice. So we're heading out there. There's only one tag per hunter, so I'm hoping to get lucky and tag out on that one. Well, this is the first episode that I've had a full episode sponsored, and I want to give a big shout out. I want to take this opportunity to the guys at Magnum Archery, to Seppi and Travis and everyone out there, the whole team. Thank you so much for kitting me out over the past couple of weeks, giving me all the advice needed, and I'm heading over to the States more prepared than I've ever been on a bow hunting adventure. Like I mentioned, to Cambridge in Maryland. It's a swampy area, so we've got to kit ourselves out correctly, having the correct gear as far as camera is concerned. I'm not 100% sure on how we will be hunting these deer. I do understand that they do like the forestry, wet vegetation, so I'm presuming there's going to be a lot of walking and stalking. However, I do know when opportunities are best presented, might be up in a tree stand of a feedlot, whatever the case may be. Again, I don't have all the full details. However, I will be leaving knowing that I'll be fully equipped, fully prepared on whatever scenario I get dealt when I'm out there. So one of the biggest misconceptions, being a professional hunter and an avid hunter, is that people automatically assume that you should be a great shot. Well, I'll be the first person to admit that I am not the best shot. However, I am more comfortable behind a compound bow than I am behind a rifle for some odd reason. However, getting a little bit of advice from guys that are really good shots is nothing to be ashamed of, and you've got to embrace that and take what you've learned, put it into practice, and make sure that you have got the best possible range on your bow, rifle, whatever it may be. And I was so fortunate to head down to Magnum Archery a couple of weeks ago and learn some really cool techniques from one of the best compound bow shooters in the country, Seppi, and it was an absolute honor to do so with him. However, I hope the wind holds out because we've got to have a whole new dialing set up here, and I'm going to take you guys through it. The main attraction, let's talk about it. So in front of me, I've got the PSE Magnum 375 with the kitted camo limbs over here and the space gray chassis, which I'm pretty stoked about. It's a beautiful bow. It's a beautiful setup. Actually, one of the guys that pulled my bow out of the case the other day, he said to me, he said, "This thing looks brand new," and I'm like, Well, this is my baby. When I get out into the bush, a lot of guys, I mean, when we did that fellow deer hunt, it was painful to keep putting my bow down on the twigs and the harsh rocks and stuff. But that's what these things are built for. They're built to take a little bit of pounding. So first things first, we've got to get rid of the old target sight. It comes in a little strip of paper, and we've got to get rid of that one because we've cranked up our bow. Now we're shooting 73 pounds, whereas before we were shooting 60. We've changed a few placements as far as the peep sight's concerned. I've changed an anchor point. I'm using my nose now instead of the corner of my mouth. So there's going to be a whole new adjustment that we're going to have to go. So what I'm going to do is remove this little strip, and then we're going to get a little blank piece of paper in the place with our permanent marker, and we're going to have that all sorted out so that I'm not marking on the actual spot hog sight. And then we'll go and remove that and find the best possible fit on these little markers that Spot Hog supplies you with when you are buying the sight. So a lot of things we have changed. We've adjusted the peep sight when I was up in Magnum, and we removed the PSE grip, which was quite an interesting thing for me. And I must say, I feel so much more stable now. I've kitted it out with the Fast Eddie Spot Hog sight. This is going to be awesome because this gets me into range. It's I've got 2 pins on it, which I don't really use the bottom one, to be honest with you. However, in this scenario, I will be dialing it in and making sure that I'm shooting bang on with both of those pins. We have done quite a bit of adjustments, like I mentioned before. So we will be resighting this whole bad boy up. So one of the things that Seppi quickly pointed out was that my grip was a little bit too thick. So we've taken it off, we've gone bare. However, where we are going to be hunting in Cambridge in Maryland, it's very humid, hot, and I get intense buck fever. So I'm anticipating my hands to be sweaty and palmy. So we've got this little non-sweat tape that we are just going to strap up this little handle with, just to make sure that we're not going to be slipping around when we're in full draw. I want to get between the 40 and 60 yard range. I think that's the sweet spot. Of course, 20 yards, I'm bang on the money. But as far as 40 and 60, I want to get a good grouping, and I want to get really, really confident up there. So what I didn't realize is when I initially had the bow, we had set it up for a 65 pound draw. Right now, we're sitting at 73 pounds, and I'm very, very happy with how things are going. I feel a lot smoother, and it's kind of weird because science would want to tell me that the heavier the poundage on the bow, the more difficult it is to pull. However, I feel like I don't overcompensate when I pull, so it gives me a lot better, smoother feel to it. I love being on the golf course, and I guess being a bow hunter has kind of taught me a lot of lessons in life, as does golfing. Routine, consistency, practice makes perfect, and yeah, so, and the most important thing is just trying to find out what's going to work for you. Some techniques that work for other bow hunters, and I know the hunting communities are notorious for this. Oh, you're doing it wrong, the technique's all off, you shouldn't be doing it that way. However, when it works for you, it works for you, and no one can ever take that away from you. And that's the most important. As long as you're running through the routine and you're certain you're going to be making a good ethical shot, that's all that matters at the end of the day. And I've been feeling very, very good in this first little session. When I'm pulling that bow back, and like I said, guys, I get serious buck fever. You don't understand how bad my buck fever gets. I mean, that fellow deer was, I think we ranged it at the end, was probably just under 20 yards in front of me, and I was shaking like a dithering idiot. And honestly, I mean, it's not something I'm ashamed of. I've just got to learn to embrace it. And so one of the things that I've learned, especially being with Seppi, is that I needed to slow the whole thing down, slow, getting into position, making sure I'm drawing back correctly and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to be focusing on that now. I've got a week till I leave. And in this last week, I'm going to be drilling a couple of arrows every single night, just making sure that I've slowed the whole process down. I'm getting into the right rhythm and momentum, because it's all about consistency, right? Once that muscle memory kicks in, you're pretty much going to be leaving and understanding that when those situations come up, it's all about just making sure you go through the routine. It's kind of like a golf swing, I always say. So a lot of people have asked me why I don't go for the thumb release, and my pure and honest answer is I get my buck fever is too intense. So for me, I like to have the look and the feel of the thumb release. However, this gives me direct access to when I want the arrow released. That way I can always move into my rhythm and make sure. I know with the rifle, we used to do the figure eight, and I don't quite do it with the bow because I always like to have my level sitting level. However, when you do start shaking and you do have that feel that, okay, wait, this is probably going to be the best time to release, and that's when you release. That for me is the ultimate. So I want to have that feel. I want to feel like I'm in control at all times. So that's the reason why I'll probably always go for these sort of releases, the wrist strap ones. And I must say, I have yet to have anything negative to say about the wrist strap. I've been shooting them ever since I moved over to a bow. So yeah, Spot Hog, Wise Guy, definitely a must have in any bow hunter's kit bag. And this is where it gets interesting for me, is all about arrow selection. So I'm going to start off with saying that we're going with the VPN 125 grain broadhead. It's got a 2.5 cutting diameter, 2.5 inch cutting diameter. I'm pretty happy with these. When I shot that fellow deer, it was absolutely outstanding. I mean, I shot a warthog the other day as well, and it bled out within 8 yards. And a pig is a tough animal. So once this bad boy went straight through, I had a straight pass through, like I said, 8 yards, and it was all over. And I'm very, very happy with them. I don't like mechanical broadheads. Those of you that have been following my story, you guys would have seen I went on a red darker hunt where I used a mechanical broadhead in a thick vegetation. It nicked a small blade of grass. You guys, if you've seen that video, you would understand what I'm talking about. It honestly nicked a small blade of grass, and it threw that arrow completely off course. Now, with us going up in poundage on the bow, what we're going to choose in spine, this is the 300 flex spine, and over here, this is the Stalker edition from Carbon Core. And over here, I've got the Bow Hunter. This is the 350 flex spine. Now, guys, remember, the higher the number, the more the flex. The lower the number, the less the flex. For me personally, I've enjoyed always a stiffer spine, so the 300 being my tend to go to arrow. However, the way Magnum have set these guys up for me, I've got confidence in both of them. So we first shooting the Stalkers. My first shot went a little bit high. Second shot, bang on the money. Third shot. So a lot of the things that I've changed is I'm a lot more relaxed on my left hand. My anchor point is the tip of my nose. And I'm making sure that the bubble is level. For the first 20 yards, I'm really, really happy about that. I mean, you guys can see these groupings. It's a pretty much kill shot. Not much adjustment that needs to be done. This is the Stalker. First one, like I said, a little bit high, then pretty good grouping. I'm very, very happy with that. And not much adjustment, just obviously just on my shooting abilities, making sure that the leveler is in the middle. But so far the Stalker at 20 yards is working out to be the arrow of choice so far. We're going to shoot the Bowhunting now and see how they perform. So the bow hunter previously, before I made all these adjustments, was coming out of the bow skew. We did a paper test a little bit earlier in the week and we managed to dial that all in, and the way they fly now is very true and straight, which I'm very happy about. So it's giving them the perfect edge on the stalker. So that's 10 arrows in the books with the stalker and the bow hunter. Let's go see which one outperforms each other. So as you can see, not much in it. Although the bow hunter is shooting a little bit lower, obviously with being a heavier arrow. We're gonna settle on the stalker for now, and the reason is because I've shot them with the VPN, the broadhead I'll be using over in the States on this hunt. So we'll be putting the bow hunters away and making sure that we dial in now on the stalker. However, this won't be an arrow I will forget very soon. I'll be definitely putting a lot of yardage on this and making sure that I can dial it in nicely. But like I said, there's a lot of new things that are coming into the PH Journals program, which I'm very excited about, and a new arrow brand is one of them. So yeah, excited about this one. So we were lucky with that one, not much adjusting to be done. So we've marked it off with the line. I'm going to try and dial my single pin in, and the reason for that is I don't like complicating things with 2 pins. However, I have got a 2 pin on the site, and the reason I chose the 2 pin was always just for in case. I like a single pin, but when I got the fast eddy, I wasn't quite sure on which route I was going to go. So I've settled now for this. Well, I'll just be using a single pin. So we're going to go take it 10 yards back, going to 30 yards, dial it in, make sure that we're shooting straight, and then we'll take it from there. So as you can see, we've dialed it in now up until 60 yards. So we've got our markers, and we're going to try and find it on this sheet. I want to try and find what's the most ideal, or the closest that we can get to from what we've dialed in on this piece of paper to match up on the bow. As you can see, if I put this down, it's relatively, if not extremely close to the 20, 30 and the 40 and the 50 pin. So we've got the sticker on, and if you guys come and have a look at this, I put the sticker with the numbers on the outside, making sure that it's in my line of sight. So just remember that there's numbers on either side, obviously for left and right, or your personal preference. I've always enjoyed the stickers more on the outside for me. That way I know I've just got a little bit more of a quicker response time to it. But what we're going to do now is just to make sure that that is dialed in. We're going to set up, we've got 5 arrows, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And if we miss the little dinner plate on the target, we will start from the beginning. So we're going to start off at 20 yards and let's see how it goes. So look at that. 5 arrows, 4 dinner plates, 1 haywire, but that's purely just from the wind. I felt that shot go, but I am super happy with this grouping, and to say the least, I'm looking forward now to the hunt in Maryland. So guys, that concludes this awesome YouTube episode of setting my Magnum 375 PSE up. Once again, massive shout out to Magnum Archery, Seppi and the whole team. Thank you so much for kitting me out with one of the best bows. I'm looking forward to utilizing this on a once in a lifetime opportunity out in North America as we chase the Psycho deer. So I'm really looking forward to putting this one to the test. So guys, if you are wanting to get involved in bow hunting, well, look no further. than Magnum Archery. They are one of the best in the business, and they will kit you out with a bow that will suit you. Don't go the shortcut route and just pull one off the shelf and start shooting it. Head along to the professionals. They'll kit you out with whatever your desire is needed for. So from myself, if you are, happy hunting. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble. We'll catch up with you guys soon.